This episode of the Topcast is proudly supported by Alfred Music. You're listening to the Topcast, the original podcast for growth-minded instrumental music and voice teachers since 2015, with your host, Tim Topham. Our mission at Top Music is to empower instrumental music and voice teachers to find and nurture their innate creativity so that they can teach lessons that are innovative, integrated, and inspiring, and that will have a positive, lifelong impact on their students. Join us each week as we interview teachers and creators from around the world and unpack fun and exciting ideas to maximize your teaching and studio business success. Welcome back to the show, everybody. It's Tim here, and I'm delighted that you're spending a little bit of time with us again this week. Hope you're well, hope teaching's going well, or holidaying, whatever you're doing at the moment. I'm really excited to bring you today's episode with our Top Music Sheets composer of this month, August, the amazing Justin Levitt. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, each month we release free for all our Top Music Pro members an amazing collection of sheet music from composers all around the world who we collaborate with on this project. If you're a budding composer or you have students in your studio who are budding composers, you're going to find this really, really interesting. How he got started, it's a really different journey to just about everyone I've ever interviewed who's now a composer. But Justin also talks about the experience of engaging with us and becoming a collaborator on Top Music Sheets and how useful it was for him and how much he's learned from it. So if that's of interest for you, make sure you do reach out to us. We love hearing from composers. Even if you're not currently published or you're self-publishing, wherever you're at in your journey, if you feel like you have great pedagogical music to contribute and you'd like more people to know about it, then please let us know. support@topmusic.co. It'd be great to hear from you. Justin Levitt is an award-winning pianist and composer based in the San Francisco Bay Area. At around the age of 15, Justin began to notice how deeply music resonated with him. It might have been his challenging childhood, the beauty of film scores, or friends at school who dabbled in composition, but one day, music became an integral part of his life, and we dive into that story in this show. Those life-changing moments inspired him to learn and play the piano and start composing. Since then, Justin has composed hundreds of pieces and published 10 volumes of piano solos. His achievements include winning 7 MTAC State Composition Awards, performing at Carnegie Hall, yes, he slipped that into today's episode as well, composing for the Diablo Ballet in performances and short films, and receiving a Gold Telly Award for Best Music on the film Spiritus. Justin's compositions are featured in the Australian Music Examination Board syllabus and published by FJH. Currently serving as manager of Steinway Walnut Creek, he balances a full-time career with his passion for music. Justin finds profound joy and inspiration in his loving family, who are at the heart of his creative journey. Welcome to the show, Justin. So great to finally reconnect with you.
Likewise, Tim. Great to see you, buddy.
Thank you so much for being this month's Top Music Sheets composer. It is cool. Look, I've loved your music ever since you started sharing compositions. I don't know, we'll have to try and work out how I actually found out about them, but there's just something so warm and rich and engaging. I love the chords and the harmony, and you use some of the lower registers of the piano, which I think is just such a rich kind of area, that bit below middle C. So I know your collection's really going to appeal to our members and their students as much as it has for me. So yeah, huge thank you.
Man, huge thank you to you, because I am honored and super excited. I love that we met each other all those years ago, and here we are, and you're helping me share some of my music. So it's a pleasure, buddy.
Can you remember how we first connected?
I think it was a teacher over here named Gail Liu, who had, I think, sent you one of my pieces for the Australian Music Examination Board syllabus,
okay,
or at least for consideration. And then you liked it.
That was it.
Yeah, I think that's it.
So that would have been about 2016 in that case. So it's been a while, 8 years. Holy moly. Oh,
yeah,
I'm getting
doing good.
So look, I'd love to share more about you and your composing work and things. So firstly, is composing full-time work for you? And if it's not, what else do you do?
It is not full-time work for me. I'm thinking about it most of the time, but as you can see behind me in this showroom full of Steinway pianos, my day job is working for Steinway & Sons, which is a very cool job.
Yeah, and you sell pianos, therefore, is that right?
I do. So I manage a showroom in Walnut Creek and help people pick out pianos. I get to meet and hang out with piano teachers, it's one of the great parts of the job, and just meet all these great people. So I'm into it. Some of my biggest influence I've actually met just sitting here. So it's been kind of cool.
Wow. And you compose for you don't just do piano music, because I know you shared this incredible imagery of a ballet, I think you composed. So tell me about some of the other stuff you've composed.
Okay. Yeah. So mainly I do solo piano, but on occasion I'll get projects with, there's a wonderful ballet company in Walnut Creek. It's a professional company called Diablo Ballet. And we became friends. I don't know, it's been almost 15 years. And anytime not anytime, but about every year or so, they asked me to write something for either like a short film or a new dance piece coming up. And then sometimes I can keep it solo, but I get excited. And every time those projects happen, I tend to do full orchestrations for them.
Wow. And played by an orchestra, or do they tend to be electronically produced?
So, let's see, all but two have been. Well, we've had musicians perform live on stage, which is, I think, one of the coolest. Last year, I had a piece I wrote for them and a piece that I wrote for this hopeful collaboration with the San Francisco Ballet, recorded in Budapest by the Budapest Scoring Orchestra, which was, it's more affordable than a Los Angeles orchestra. Right? But the musicians are world class.
And I'm sure the quality is amazing.
Yeah. I mean, these guys could sight read the score like they'd practiced it their whole life. So it was really exciting, really special. So
did you get the chance to go over there and conduct a recording?
I did it like this. Yeah.
Full like John Williamson style.
Yeah, I guess.
What an experience.
If we talk about my role models later, I was super lucky because I'd become friends with Alan Silvestri, who's this amazing film composer. And I'm sure everybody on this podcast has heard of him.
I've definitely heard of him, but tell me, what are some of his movies? What would we know him from?
Forrest Gump, Back to the Future, The Avengers, Captain America,
Yes, amazing.
But, anybody around our age grew up listening to all of his movies, so he's the kindest, most inspirational musician in my life. And
how did you get to meet him?
I've been really lucky because we kind of became buddies, and he's extremely busy. They're always on the move. He's always working on a project, but anytime I need help or I have a question, he's the first to pick up the phone. And when I was doing this recording in Budapest, I very humbly asked him, I said, Al, I've never done a scoring session before. And I know you have several under your belt, would you be willing to just sit in? And he totally was. And, he had advice during it, which are things I never would have thought of, that made everything better. And yeah, just can't ask for much more than that. It was just really, really surreal and special.
Yeah. How did you meet him originally?
I was sitting right here. He
came into the store?
Not at first. His wife and daughter came in and said something like, well, we were, my husband and I walked by, we were looking through the window, looking at the Steinways, and we just talked and talked. And she said, I said, well, I'm a composer, so I'd be happy to help you. And, kind of getting into it, telling a little bit about myself. And she said, oh, my husband's a composer. And I said, really? That's great.
And you were thinking, it's going to be a nobody.
Yeah. And then I said, well, who is it? And she said, oh, Alan Silvestri. And I kind of went like, just from the, you get hit with something like that. And anyway, yeah, his wife is the sweetest. Her name's Sandra. And just ever since then, we've just really kind of connected and super fortunate.
That is amazing. Yeah. Does that mean that he lives nearby?
Yes, he has a home about 15 minutes from here. That's one of the places he has.
Wow. That's very, very cool. Had no idea. There you go. So I'd love to go back and find out a little bit about your own journey and childhood lessons. Were they filled with contemporary instruction and composition and things, or was it super traditional?
Neither. I have really not taken a lesson. So my mom wanted to get me into lessons when I was little, and I think I took three. I was living in Ohio at the time. And I just remember looking out the window, uh, at a big open grassy field going, I should be out there. And it just never clicked at the time. I mean, in a lot of ways, I've taken a lot of life lessons through all these different teachers I've met and all these professionals I know, because as we kind of get to know each other better, I'm always open to asking them for help or guidance or input. And along the way, they've helped me with maybe sitting a little better, my hand position, ways to think at the piano. So it's been like little pieces along the way from all the people I've met along the way.
That's crazy. That is the first time I've ever interviewed a composer who has said that. I didn't know. That's a real surprise. So when did you, would you call yourself self-taught? And if so, from what kind of age did you kind of get kind of serious?
15-ish. And I was in high school. I had joined the choir, and I got a lot of new friends who were musicians and pianists, and I just remember hearing them play, maybe like an opening to a Billy Joel song or just whatever that I thought would be cool in piano. And I started going, that's cool. I'd like to do that. And I don't know, everything just kind of fell into place as far as like being interested and wanting to do it. And it kind of went from not really thinking about it to being interested in it and then just being like obsessed with it, in a very like
quite organic kind of way. Yeah. But you and I we would have been 15 before the YouTube kind of became a thing, I think. So how did you teach yourself?
Listening to CDs, listening to the tapes, a lot of trial and error.
Wow. There you go.
I had a really good friend. One of my best friends was taking piano lessons, so I would watch him play and be admired, and he would kind of give me little hints and helpful tricks to kind of get started. And that's how it began.
So tell me about your first compositions then, if you can remember.
Well, I can remember them. They're very simple, very, very like, wish I had I'm going to say wish I had a piano nearby.
You've got like 15 behind you.
Yeah. Just like C, G, C, just like over, like kind of repetitive, almost new agey stuff, nothing difficult. And then I, learned that if I would, push a certain note, the 10th is like my favorite note.
Yeah.
My favorite chord. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, I could tell.
I kind of learned that really early on and realized that, if you're, whatever your bass is, if you're 10 above or can get to 10 above or somehow play around to be in that world, it's going to be pretty. And I just thought everything was, I don't know, I just, the way that the music sounded, the way even the simplest of melodies kind of came out, I loved it, and I don't know the exact moment, like I don't think I wrote something and I was like, I'm a composer, I think I had like played something that was original and thought, this is cool. I want to share it with my buddy. And that just kept happening. And the more I played, the more I would just, and normally, it's just these things just sort of happen. But yeah.
Did you have any other mentors apart from your Al, who you met later in life? You had your buddy at school. Anyone else over those years of?
Absolutely. I mean, when I was in choir, our conductor, whose name is Brad Wells, who's just, I don't think most people who take choir, their conductor is just so cool, and so inspirational. And even though it had nothing to do with really piano so much, he was definitely a mentor. He encouraged me to learn. He encouraged me to play. He even gave me the task after I'd been in the group for a few years to take a song he'd written on guitar called The Shy Man. And he'd started it on piano, and he asked me if I would kind of finish it, And I didn't know how to write music. I was still writing A, C, F with a little sharp,
Yeah,
the letters.
Yeah.
But I did it, and he encouraged me to do it. And that was like the first big thing I'd ever done, just like a few years in. And it was a really cool experience. Actually, I've got a really kind of traumatic story if you want to hear it that happened. All right. In the choir room, my conductor was out, being like a guest conductor at another school. So they had brought someone else in, someone very prestigious. And I was going to play this song, The Shy Man, with the choir. And as you can tell from like my music, I love to take time sometimes, it's like it's very following the sounds. And so playing with the choir, that's not how it is. It's very like hit it on the beat. So I just remember like in front of our entry choir and the advanced choir, I was at this piano, like, shaking and starting to play the song. And I just remember I wasn't lining up with the choir. And I don't think I tried it more than 2 or 3 times, but after those failed attempts, this guy said, and this is a quote, I don't know why he would say this, but he said, "You will never be a concert pianist." And I was like, oh, damn. Okay. And that was one of my inspirations, in addition, because at the time I wasn't really thinking that it would not happen. I was so driven and so passionate, although, it's never fun to hear things like that. It was one of the motivators, that, and by the way, when I first played the only time I played at Carnegie Hall, I sent him a program and I said, "Hey, thanks for the encouragement," something along those lines.
Don't imagine you heard back.
I didn't hear back.
No. I wasn't sure how to read what you were suggesting, whether the comment didn't affect you because you had no intention of being a concert pianist, or it did. I'm understanding that it did affect you.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really take concert pianist literally, I just kind of took it as, just you won't make it. You're not good enough. Like you probably find something else to do, as how I interpreted it. So, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry, did you just name drop Carnegie Hall in there somewhere?
I did. It was a subtle. I moved past it.
So wait, you have performed there?
I have performed at Carnegie. It was a concert I shared with 2 other musicians, and we kind of split up the time. And I played all my original music. We had another pianist playing classical music, and then there was a cellist playing. So it's the first time I had actually written for piano and another instrument was the Carnegie concert. But I'll never forget it. Something that I dreamed of doing, set a goal to do, and just the concert was called The Musicians with Day Jobs.
Great.
That's what I called it. It's because, we were all trying our best to be as good as we could be at piano and share, as much passion and as much of ourselves, but we also had day jobs. So we wanted people to walk in knowing that they were going to hear a good show, but we weren't like, Yuja Wong per se, even though she wasn't playing or performing live yet.
Alfred Music's piano resources have long been favourites of piano teachers and students alike, with a vast catalogue of popular methods, supplemental repertoire, masterworks, pop and more. This fall, Alfred Music is excited to continue its legacy of producing first-class piano resources with the release of 4 brand new books. For video game loving students, Sagaland, video game inspired solos by Elizabeth Swift for intermediate students that is sure to spark the imagination and excite all of your students. Sand Paintings, 16 piano pieces by the amazing Connor Chi, inspired by traditional Navajo sand paintings. Take the Stage, recital showstoppers for young beginners by Angela Marshall, and Rare Recital Treasures, an anthology of lesser-known teaching pieces selected and edited by Ingrid Clarfield and Kevin Chance. Exclusively for Topcast listeners, go to alfred.com/podcast and use the code TOPMUSIC at checkout to save 30% on these titles and everything else at alfred.com. Go check it out. Have you got any other influences on your compositions, dead or alive?
Yeah. I mean, like early on, I listened to a lot of George Winston. It's just, I love the way his left hand would just like, it was perfection and how he could put right hand melodies on top of it. And that was one of the first artists I learned a lot of his music by ear because he wasn't publishing his music. So that was like my first big, so George Winston. I loved Keith Jarrett's Colm concert. I don't know if you ever heard that. And that's the good stuff. And then the classical composers that are and always will be, like the Beethoven, the Rachmaninoff. I love Chopin. And it's not like I listened to it all the time, but I loved it. And just little bits and pieces of all of it kind of filtered in. And then, I think another huge inspiration, besides like the obvious family support, which you can't really get there if they're not like, you can do it, are like just having a best friend or two, like a solid music friend who, all along the way, you just have in your life, and they keep supporting you, and they keep helping you. And yeah, I mean, yeah. And I also really liked and still like, popular music, at that time, there was a lot of popular piano music that had really cool piano intros, right? And then it would be chords and singing, and that'd be fine. But I was always interested in like, I must have learned like 1,000 intros, So just, it's a really wide, that, and like the last thing, which I should have said first, are film scores.
I can
That's
hear
where
that.
you're just, submerged in, the most beautiful, emotional, appropriately written music. So yeah, I didn't, think I wanted to be a film composer or anything early on. I loved it. Yeah.
I've just looked up George Winston because I wasn't familiar with him. I imagine perhaps the American listeners will be more familiar with him. So he's a contemporary composer. He's actually just passed away last year by the looks of things. Yeah.
Yeah, it was sad.
I'll have to explore some of that music.
Yeah, it's really cool. His older stuff, like he did one for All the Seasons. That's really good. I think you'd really enjoy it.
Oh, cool. All right. Thanks for that. Nice tip. So let's talk about this collection. Actually, I also wanted to ask you about publishing, because I know a lot of teachers who listen to the show are already either selling arrangements or their own compositions, or would like to, or have thought about it. How did you decide whether to go down publishing or self-publishing?
I really didn't have a drive to do it. I wasn't thinking about doing it. And it might have been...
No publishing at all, is what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. It might have been a couple years before I met you. I was in the Music Teachers Association of California, and they have once a year, they have a composition contest. And I entered it one year, and I entered one of my pieces. And I think, the first year I entered it, I had won. And I was like, whoa. And I had all the help, like getting it on the paper, just, I can still remember like the printer printing out the first page of the score. I was like, oh, this is so exciting. And then after I played the piece at the music teacher convention, I had some teachers come up to me and say, that was really beautiful. Do you have the music? And I was like, well, I have a 8.5 by 11, and I just kind of let it go. And the next year I entered it and I won. And this went on for like 3 years. And on year 3, I was like, all right, it seems like I should probably put this down. And I wanted to, I think this is like the steps that got me to be like, I should definitely do this. And I just decided I wanted to self-publish because I had a Henley edition of Chopin, like the Henley German editions are just beautiful.
One right there.
Yep, there it is.
The Nocturnes are right behind me. Yeah.
So if you flip through that and then you flip through one of my books I've given you, you'll see quite a lot of similarities to the layout.
Quality.
It's just... And I also was really fortunate at the time to have had a friend who owned a printing company. And we had a lunch one day and I said, this is what I want to do. This is kind of what I want it to look like. And he was like, oh, we're going to have fun with this. And he really, again, took me under his wing, helped me learn about paper thickness and colors and linen and all this. And it was just so exciting. And being in that project and getting the music down and then being able to share it was just incredible,
That's when perhaps you said to yourself, maybe I am a composer now.
Yeah. You're right. To be honest, you're right, because I'm super humble as a composer. And yeah, when that first book came out, I was like, all right, I think it's now official.
Your books are genuinely the nicest feeling thing music I've ever come across. Really, like beautiful colors, the feel of the card on the like it feels like I'm opening some old leather-bound Bible that's like, just been brilliantly handmade with lots of care and attention. And the page color, it's not bright white. You've done a great job. I'm glad. It must cost a fair bit though. That's the trade-off, right?
It is the trade-off, but worth it. I mean, for where I was, and what I was trying to accomplish. And by the way, thank you. That's like one of the nicest things anybody's ever said to me.
Not at all.
Yes. But at the time, it really wasn't about money at all. Like honestly, my goal every time I would print books is that I would sell enough to make enough to pay for the next books, and just that's how like it just kept building and building and building. But yeah, just the book's that beautiful because of my friend Leo, who took me under his wing.
Yeah,
at the printing company.
And Henley as your inspiration as well. And they are, let's be honest, they are magnificent books when it comes to mass-produced books. So let's talk about this collection, because you've created a collection for us as part of our top music sheets. How did you go about choosing, because you've got a lot of music out there, how did you go about choosing these ones?
I wanted to have kind of some different styles, so something that might be fun and kind of pretty, something that would be a little more heartfelt. And just, I tried to vary kind of the levels and I tried to vary the styles so that, with this really exciting opportunity, I could show, kind of a wider brushstroke of what I love to do in one go. And I only had 20 pages to work with. So I was like, I really like this one piece, but it's 7 pages, like.
Yes, I was playing through them before and I agree. There's a great mix. So you've got the sort of the twinklier ones, but you've got the real like gutsy, like, oh my goodness, that hurts my heart kind of like the kind of piece that you would play when you're not feeling all that good, but you want to get some energy, get it out on the piano. Yeah. So you've given me that, which is, given us that. So just really, really great to share. While I think about it, what advice would you give to other teachers or teachers with budding composers in their studios about, becoming a composer?
To chip away at it every day. It's like it doesn't just happen. I mean, it can just happen kind of quick. You can learn some tricks and techniques on how to like put some left-hand patterns together with some right-hand melodies, and you can be doing it pretty quick. But just to continuously, sit at the piano every day, mess around with it. I guess this is more for the students, right? What they would tell the students, to stay as positive as it can. Music is it's a wonderful gift and it's a wonderful thing to have in your life. And composition is a really it's the best way I know to express myself. And so just to encourage that, because it's such a wonderful thing to have. And for me, the level, the technique, it's nowhere near as important as the music part of it, the coming from yourself part of it, So I would encourage them to, my way was just, like I was saying, some I would just even hit one note over and over, like a C, dong, dong, dong. And while that kind of flow is going, I would just start at one note and maybe 2 notes with it on the right hand and just kind of create this simple little flowing piece. Just, it's kind of hard to explain, I think, but I would just do my best if the teachers know they have a student who is interested or curious about it to, I don't know, maybe they can give them a piece of music that they already love and ask them to kind of try to write something similar to it, similar feel, if it's not too hard, similar, maybe like taking Pachelbel's canon because it's got the canon that just repeats and repeats and repeats, and just maybe having them improvise on the right hand just a little bit, things like that, just to kind of. And for me, it's always been, I just really need to touch a piano every day if I can. I don't write music, or I don't write music if I'm not at the piano. It just doesn't happen.
You're in the right place for that, Justin.
Yeah.
I think the crucial thing is because you won't know a student who might be interested in composition until you've let them know that you're open to it, and you give them, just as you want them to be a good sight reader and a good scale player and a good reader, you want them to be a good creator, or at least have the opportunity to try it. So you can then go, oh, or he or she could go, oh, this is kind of fun. Let's do some more. And not all students are like that. And I know lots that quite enjoy just playing the written score, but I'll always give them the opportunity.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly said, Tim. That's why you're the man.
I was thinking, as you were saying that, I was wondering, would it have made any difference if that teacher that you had 3 lessons with was a different kind of teacher, or was your mind you just weren't ready for it?
Yeah, my life, my childhood at the time was not really conducive to, just they didn't line up. It wasn't the right time for me.
It wasn't about the teaching. It was where you were at.
Yeah. Because I know lots of amazing kids that are so young, and it's like good teacher, supportive parents, some sort of like in there. And I've just been so amazed with what I've seen, So
you've had a good experience working with Albert as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have a little joke that is his last name should be Einstein, because this guy is, and I've worked with several editors and they're very good, super accomplished. But yeah, working with Albert, I was just blown away. He's so polite. He was so warm and welcoming about the music I'd sent in. And if I had done something in my music and we had to change a couple things, because I write all my indications in English, and there's a different way to do it. In some cases, he would even send me like the musical dictionary explanation why, after explaining it, just to be like extra helpful. So I learned a lot, even in the process with him. So it was a cool experience. Yeah. I would say that you guys are both lucky to be working with each other, because you guys are both pretty awesome.
Well, thank you. And yeah, I know how lucky I am to have Albert working on these collections, because every composer who's contributed has said, and they might have been composing for 20 years and be published everywhere, and they said, I still learned something new. And that's amazing.
But your whole team, like Tim's, everybody who I got a chance to email with, it was so warm and so welcoming. So you've done a really good job surrounding yourself with people who are the right kind of people. So that made the experience really, really cool for me too.
So have you got any advice to other composers who might be interested to contributing to a Top Music Sheets? Like, what did you feel about the process and everything?
Yes, definitely do it, because for me, it's the most exciting thing for me has always been sharing my music with other people. And getting the chance to share it with you and all these teachers, and then it kind of trickles down to the students. It's just like, I feel like I won the lotto, because now I get to talk to my buddy, and through you and this like amazing world you've built, I get to share my music with, I don't know how many people, so I think it would be silly for anybody who is given the opportunity from you, Tim, to ever do anything other than answer yes right away. And I mean, look, I'm so excited about it. I agreed to do it twice.
I know. It's like, we haven't even released this one, and you're like, can I do another one? This is so good. And the answer to that would be absolutely yes. We can't wait to share more of your music, because there's so much good stuff there. And I've played through pretty much all of your music, because you've always been kind enough to send me signed copies, which I've always appreciated, and I keep them right over there on my shelf. And there is so much more that that I'd love people to know about. So yeah, that would be awesome.
Well, Tim, you're also a big inspirational part of my life, buddy. I mean, giving me that opportunity to, have one of my pieces be in the Australian syllabus was, it's the first time that's ever happened, so Tim Topham is a very important name in our house.
Thank you, Justin. That's very kind. Well, look, we'll wrap things up. But if listeners want to find out more about you and your music and get them hands on these amazing scores that you've created, where should they go?
The best way to go is it's my website. It's www.justinlevitt.com.
Levitt.
Levitt. Thanks, Tim. And, I'm thinking like what I should do as this kind of progresses. I think what I will do, the shipping prices have just gone up astronomical, but I do encourage people to get the real book if they can.
And I would, this is a case where the real book would be worth it for sure.
Yeah. So I'm gonna get some sort of special gift, or I'll definitely do special pricing. I'll be very thoughtful for anybody who comes to me through this, so that I can try to make it easier on them to get the actual music if they want it.
That's awesome. Well, thanks so much, Justin. It's been so good to hang out. Thank you for coming on the show. And again, thanks for this collection.
Thanks, Tim. I'll talk to you later, buddy.
Well, I hope you go and explore this month's Top Music Sheets collection. If you are not a Top Music Pro member, you can become a member for just $10 a month, and you'll get access to our Top Music Sheets every month, also our Top Music Games and our Top Music Magazine, plus our full webinar back catalogue of about 90 one-hour trainings on just about every topic you can think of. If you would like to join us on our light plan, just head over to topmusicpro.com and you'll find all the details there. If you'd like more information about Top Music Sheets and how that works, you can also head to topmusic.co/sheets, where we share more information about this amazing production that we put together each and every month. And don't forget to head over to the Top Music Piano Podcast with Dr. Rachel Ehring. Episode 30 is all about marketing your teaching studio with Kelly Riordan. For those of you in the Northern Hemisphere, this is a great time to reconsider all the ways that you're marketing and getting word out about your studio in preparation for the start of the new school year coming right up. So just search for the Top Music Piano Podcast wherever you're listening to this episode. If you haven't already subscribed, it's fantastic episodes over there, and I highly commend it to you. All right, that's the end of the show for this week. Thanks so much for tuning in. Next week, we are zooming into Gareth Brooke, who is a UK-based pianist living over in Germany. We're going to find out all about what it's like teaching and living in Germany and all the great things that he is doing over at pianocreativity.com. Can't wait to share that with you. I'm Tim Topham, and you've been listening to the Topcast from topmusic.co. Speak to you next time. How do you keep up to date with all the latest trends and research into music education? How do you connect with other teachers around the world and make sure your teaching stays fresh and relevant for students of all ages and stages, both now and into the future? I created our Top Music Pro membership to be the one-stop shop for music teaching resources, training, support, and community, and I'd love for you to come and join us inside. With over 40 comprehensive training courses, hundreds of teaching demonstrations and lesson plans, free monthly sheet music, discounts, and all the business and pedagogy support you could ever need, Top Music Pro is the community you've been looking for. If you're ready to level up your learning from the podcast and join thousands of other teachers in our global network, head over to topmusicpro.com today. If you enjoy this show and want to hear more of our work, be sure to subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening today. For links and resources mentioned in this episode, visit us at topmusic.co/podcast or check out the show notes. I'm Tim Topham. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy your week ahead, and I'll catch you next time.